Hey guys, Mike here with CRZYMoto, and I wanted to welcome you guys to another crazy project. So in this video, we are going to be completely replacing basically all the major front suspension components in my 2010 Chevy Silverado 1500 work truck, which is my daily and my workhorse. Gets driven every day. It's an awesome truck, and I absolutely love the way this year of truck looks. So we're going to be building this truck up slowly but surely throughout the course of the next couple of years. We're going to keep it really simple on this build and mostly just update everything mechanical, coat the underside and the frame and all that. We'll be doing headlights, bumper grill, vinyl wrap, and wheels probably. Just keeping it really simple, but updating and improving the vehicle. So what we're going to be doing in this video is we are going to be replacing the upper control arms, lower ball joints, inner and outer tie rods, sway bar links, and wheel hubs and bearings. So that's what we're going to be doing on this today. Before we get started, got a couple things I want to go over before we jump into the video. So if you guys are interested in any of the products in this video, everything below will be linked in the description. I got the parts kit from 1A Auto, and there is an affiliate link down in the description below if you have the same exact truck and you would like to replace these components on your truck. The kit is the best deal on the market, and I promise you, you will not find a better price for the quality of components that you get. So be sure to check out the link in the description for 1A Auto, and if you guys have this truck, I highly recommend doing this. It feels so much better in the front end after the components that have worn, like sway bar links and all that, have been replaced. All right, guys, so we are at Mr. Tire in California, Maryland. Main reason that we're here today is the front right wheel bearing on this truck is bad, and so we're going to be putting a new one in. So one thing I want to preface before I start this is that all of the parts in this video will be linked down in the description. If you want to support the channel, buying through those links helps out the channel, and also you'll get some fantastic parts for the money. Really a good bargain. I'll also be linking any tools that I use in this video in the description as well. So if you don't have the equipment and you want to try this, it might be worth checking it out. So today we're going to be doing all this. Starting here, we have brand new wheel bearings, outer tie rods, inner tie rods, sway bar links, upper control arms with ball joints, and lower ball joints. And all of these parts obviously come with the correct clips and pins and everything you need to install them. Included in the package as well from 1A Auto, there are installation instructions and torque specifications which come in handy. So in order to begin this project, all of these components go in the front of the vehicle. So in order to start, what I've done just to prep it is I put the vehicle on a lift, which is going to make this 1,000 times easier. I've removed the lug cover from the center of the wheel, and now we're going to pull the wheel off. So as of right now, I know for 100%, we're going to be doing the inner and outer tie rod, and we're going to be obviously changing the wheel bearing, which is the main problem we came here for today. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop the 21mm castle nut off of the tie rod. We're going to remove the brake caliper bracket, which will pull the whole caliper assembly off together. Remove the rotor, which was just replaced this time last year. And then we're going to pop the 3 wheel bearing bolts located on the back side of the spindle. You can see one of them right there. Those are for the wheel bearing, and the hub, which are one assembly in this piece. So let's get to it. So as you can see, we got quite a mess here, but we did remove the old wheel bearing. So I already threw it out. So this is the old wheel bearing right here. You can see it's just rusted and shot, and I'm sure if we opened up the bearing on the inside, there'd be a bunch of damaged balls in the bearings and the races. Really had to smack the hell out of this to get it out of there, but new one's going in soon. Right now I'm just taking a whiz wheel and cleaning up around the spindle. Eventually all this stuff will be painted, but not today, that's for sure. Progress on the truck. Alright guys, so I'm doing a horrible job filming and capturing all this, but so like I said, wheel bearing removed. We cracked the I believe this was an 18mm nut on the top of the upper control arm to remove that. We loosen the 15/16 lock nut on the tie rod, as well as popping the castle nut on the bottom, which is holding the tie rod into the spindle. Now that we have all of this stuff out of the way, we're going to go ahead and remove the inner tie rod. We're going to unbolt this, the upper control arm. Well, it's already unbolted. We're going to knock it out, and then we're going to remove the spindle from the lower, and then just put the wheel bearing on the spindle out of the truck. Gang. Alright guys, so as you can see, this job makes quite a mess and requires quite a few tools. I'm going to be listing the tools. Hopefully in the beginning I'll cut and edit a footage of me listening, but I will list the tools. So I went ahead and knocked out the outer tie rod, which connects to the inner, which is what steers the vehicle through the rack and pinion. After that, I knocked out the top control arm, which is what I'm removing now. This takes a 21mm socket and a 21mm wrench on the back side of the bolt. Same on the other side. Now when you do this, you'll want to take a paint pen and mark where these plates sit, because this is how you adjust your caster and camber. So be mindful of where these things are and install them back in the right place. You can see this one shift. Alright guys, so as you can see, I just finished removing the upper control arm. These are where the marks for the camber and caster adjusters were. It's very simple. It's a bolt through here with a nut on the back. Actually, it's a bolt through here, the nut on the back side here. Getting the nuts out, you got to shift the control arm around to try to get them in there and figure out where your camber and caster need to be. So now that the old one is out, I went ahead and lined up and matched up the old one with the new one. You can see that the orientation of the different shapes is the same. Short side on the left, short side on the left, and it can only go down into the spindle this way. So this is my new one. We're gonna go ahead to install this one, slide it in the slot, get our camber and caster adjusters ready to go, and bolt it in. Alright guys, so quick tech tip. So this is the rack and pinion. This is what steers the wheels in its relation to the connection to the spindle from the tie rod. This piece here is the inner tie rod. We got new ones, we need to remove it. So if you don't have a big enough wrench, what you do is you take a pipe wrench, get it around the round part, crack it, and then she just threads right off, and the new one threads in. And that's how you do inners. Whole lot of gang. We'll go ahead and install the new one as well. There she is, man. And now, important thing to do is to come here, line it up with the inner. And it's the same, so we're gonna put it on. We're gonna try to get this jam nut close to where it was on the original inner. You can see the threads where it was. Close enough, we're gonna do an alignment anyway. And then, see where it is received. Just come on up through here. And then just thread it in. Boom, inner installed. Moved completely from the lower control arm, the upper, the tie rod, and the sway bar links are detached, as well as the caliper being taken off. So this isn't the best one because I haven't done it yet. I'm going to show you the other spindles. So I wanted the wheel bearings to go into these spindles smooth, as well as have everything bolt up smooth. So I took a whiz wheel and I cleaned up all the mating surfaces where things bolt to, as well as the inner where the bearing sits. It was so rusty inside there. So that'll just, you know, make things go together smoother, clean it up. At some point, all these components will be painted, but today is not the day for that. There's not enough time. Huge shout out to Sean Judd over at Mr. Tire here in California. For the who have any vehicles with any problems, bring them to him over at Mr. Tire in California, right behind BJ's on Worth Avenue. So now that all the other stuff is out, you can see we have the new control arm in here, but we got a hole in here. So inside that hole is going to go our new lower ball joint. And the wonderful kit from 1A Auto, which will be linked in the description, comes with all of the necessary hardware to install it. It comes with grease for the inner tie rods, Loctite, all that good stuff. So now what we're going to do is coming over to the other side. We have everything disassembled. So now the only thing left for me to do is pull this control arm out, put the new one in. This is just a real quick tip, really handy to get your alignment back kind of roughly where it was, is take paint marks so you can line up the adjusters to where they were prior to disinstalling it. You can see this one's moved because I started loosening it, and that will affect your caster and camber. So mark it and make sure you put it back in the same spot so your alignment is that much easier. Coming soon for this truck, guys, we got new shocks, new lowers, new spindles. We got a bunch of parts on the way for this truck. We're going to be building this thing into a bulletproof, really solid, really utilitarian daily driver. So now that all that stuff's taken apart, I'm going to get back to work. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes when the ball joints are about to get pressed in. All right, guys, so quick tech tip. So this is the rack and pinion. This is what steers the wheels in its relation to the connection to the spindle from the tie rod. This piece here is the inner tie rod. We got new ones, we need to remove it. So if you don't have a big enough wrench, what you do is you take a pipe wrench, get it around the round part, crack it, and then she just threads right off, and the new one threads in. And that's how you do inners. Whole lot of gang. We'll go ahead and install the new one as well. There she is, man. And now, important thing to do is to come here, line it up with the inner. That's the same, so we're gonna put it on. We're gonna try to get this jam nut close to where it was on the original inner. You can see the threads where it was. Close enough, we're gonna do an alignment anyway. And then, see where it is received. Just come on up through here. And then just thread it in. Boom, inner installed. Alright guys, so here we are after everything's been installed. I know I did not the best job filming this. I was in a hurry to get down to a different part of Maryland for the holidays. I filmed installing these parts over Thanksgiving, Christmas time, and was in a hurry to go up and meet the family, so I had to get it done before the shop closed, so I rushed the filming. So I'm gonna run over everything real quick in case you have this truck and you want to do this. So the first thing you're gonna do is, this is the new control arm here. You can tell it's new because you can look at the lower one is not new. That did not get replaced in this kit. So first thing you'll want to do is mark your camber and caster adjusters so that you can install them back in the correct locations when you put the new one in and swap the new one in for the old one. So you can see I started by marking that paint, and then each one of these nuts is 21 millimeters for the control arm. So just you remove this nut here, it'll come out with the adjuster, and in order to get it out past the spring, you got to pop it out, rotate it down, and then slide it out the back side. And you do the same on that side, 21 millimeter nuts. If you've removed those bolts, the control arm will just pull out. So you need to remove this to get the old one out as well. So you remove the cotter pin from the castle nut, and you remove that. And this is an 18 millimeter nut on the bottom side of the control arm. The next two things we replace are the inner and outer tie rods. So 18 millimeter castle nut on the bottom pops the outer tie rod off, but you'll want to crack this nut before you remove this from the spindle. This is a 15/16 nut. So once you have that off, you can then just unscrew the outer tie rod by twisting it off. It's just threaded on the inner. When you get to the inner, you'll need to remove the boot. You do that by removing the hose clamp and the metal clamps that hold it to the boot, and then reinstall new ones when you're done. So you can see my clamps on the bottom side there. So the inner usually has a little Loctite on it. If you get a pipe wrench and just turn it counterclockwise, lefty-loosey, it will eventually break free and come out. And then the new one just threads on to a nut inside the rack, and that's done. The next thing we did was probably the most hardest and the one that takes the most tools. So we replaced the lower ball joints with brand new one. I apologize, the lighting isn't best, but you can see on the top there that it is new. So we hammered out the old one with an air hammer, and using a ball joint press, pressed the new one in, and then inserted the ball joint back into the spindle, tightened everything down, or actually we left it loose because the last thing in this kit is the new sway bar links pictured down below. So the sway bar link's very simple, just 2 bolts, 15 millimeter, undo both sides and then assemble it back together. And my sway bar links on this truck, when I bought it, they were broken, and the wheel bearings were so bad on this. Oh, I completely forgot. So the wheel bearings for this truck, usually you get the hub and the wheel bearing in one assembly with the ABS sensor. So you just take off the ABS sensor with a 10 millimeter bolt on the back side there, take that off, and then it's just 4 bolts. These 4 bolts here, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold the wheel bearing and hub assembly in place. Once those bolts are unbolted, you can pound it out with a hammer or use an air hammer to get it out, and then just bolt the new one in. One of the reasons I really like this truck is because the components are easy to install and remove. It's got bolt-in bearings, so you don't have to press them out or worry about the races and get access to a press. Just bolt the new ones in. Control arms, all that. After you do this stuff, you will want to get an alignment on this vehicle. This vehicle was aligned here at Mr. Tire in California, Maryland. Great staff here, great service, great people. They will give you great service on your car or truck. They'll only recommend what the vehicle really needs, and they do a great job and provide good service, and all of their work is backed by a warranty. So if you're in the Southern Maryland area looking to get work done, be sure to check out Mr. Tire in California, Maryland. So that's gonna wrap up this video, guys. I hope it is gave you guys a little insight. If you're wanting to do this yourself and you have this truck, be sure to check out the links for the 1A Auto in the description. I will also list all the tools you need to do this, and those will also be linked in the description. So I hope everybody had a great week. I hope everybody's doing well. We'll see you in the next one. Stay crazy.